All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Believe in Bills presented by FanDuel, live here on YouTube. Adam Benigni and Sal Maiorana, as the Buffalo Bills have a new head coach. And Sal, I suppose that it's not entirely true, but the expression, the more things change, the more they stay the same, comes to mind when you consider the fact that they decide to promote Joe Brady, offensive coordinator, staying in-house, becoming the new head coach. Underwhelming is a word. I don't want to take any credit away from what Brady's accomplished with this offense, but given the set of circumstances where this team has been and where it hasn't, I was expecting something different, maybe an outside force to help shake things up. Your take on that?
Yeah. Uninspiring was, I think, the word that I've kind of used. I just did radio a few minutes ago, and that's what I said on the radio. Look, Adam, I mean, Pegula made a big deal about how they've hit the proverbial playoff wall with Sean McDermott. Well, Brady's been there for 4 years, and he hasn't been able to get over that proverbial wall with Sean. So I just felt like the Bills needed to go in a different direction. I was really hoping they were going to go outside the building with this hire. Now, some of the candidates, they were a little bit young. Obviously, Udinski's the same age as Josh Allen. That was always going to be tough to process. And Shieldhouse from the Rams is a young guy with little experience. Brady's a young guy, but at least he does have whatever. He started in 2017 with the Saints, so he does have plenty of NFL experience. But I was kind of hoping for an outside the box type of hire to take this team. You know, they don't need to go in a totally different direction like they did with Sean McDermott in 2017, but I was still hoping for some fresh ideas, some new perspectives, some different coaches. And we're going to kind of get a lot of the same, it feels like, with Joe Brady, with the caveat that unless he changes the coaching staff almost completely, and then maybe they do go in a different direction. But that, to me, is the key now, Adam, is, okay, you're going to run it back with Joe Brady. He's probably going to keep a couple of the offensive assistants. What do you do with the rest of the staff? Because that's going to determine what the Bills can ultimately do here.
And let's not forget who now oversees all the football either. That's baked into this,
right?
With Brandon Beane. How's that going to work? And sort of how do you feel about that? It's a different dynamic now.
Yeah, I think this is part of what we're seeing now. I mean, Beane, with bringing Brady back, Beane will definitely have his fingerprint, or his thumbprint, I should say. Brady being under his thumb a little bit because he's going to be reporting to Beane. It's a new structure with his staff. An outside guy, maybe Beane wouldn't have some of the control that maybe he will have with Brady. Now, that's all speculation, Adam. I mean, we don't know that Brandon Beane all of a sudden is going to be the power broker in everything the Bills do. In the past, Beane owned the offseason, McDermott owned the regular season. Do I think that's going to change drastically? No, I don't think that. But I do believe that Brady is going to come in with a little bit more deference to Brandon Beane that maybe, well, certainly more than Dable would have, and probably some of these outside guys too, who would have wanted to bring in fresh ideas, fresh coaches and all that. And maybe not do things the same way Brandon Beane would want them done. But again, we'll see. For all I know, Brady in his interviews said, yeah, we're changing everything and we're going to go in a new direction. Maybe that's what got him the job. We'll never know that. I mean, maybe they'll say something at the press conference. I doubt they're going to admit exactly what, determined this, but we'll see. I'm skeptical, but I'm willing to let it play out because he is a good coach. So we'll see where it goes.
Well, I think you have to be skeptical because look at the broader context. What's going on with Terry Pegula? And I hate to bring it up because it's not apples to apples, but what's going on with the Buffalo Sabres and what he finally came around to. I think there's a comfort factor with Pegula. With Kevin Adams, that certainly existed. And I feel like the in-house move, that falls under that umbrella. Don't you think? To me, this goes straight to the top now. I mean, Pegula, did right by the organization when he and Kim brought in Sean and then Brandon, right? Back in 2017. But now with the changes they've made and the approach, and to me, there was just an opportunity here to get fresh elements in. And there still is with the staff, but something that would extend from the top. I guess I feel like there was a missed opportunity here. And that's just like an initial gut reaction to it, albeit an experience that I think in most of our cases informed gut reaction.
Yeah. Look, the thing with Brady is that there's no doubt that the offense statistically has been tremendous in the 2 full years that he was calling plays and operating things. I mean, they scored a franchise record 525 points in 24. Allen's won an MVP. Cook's won a rushing title with Brady calling the plays. So there's undeniable success that they've had on the offensive side. And we've pointed to this many times that in the postseason, ultimately, it's been the defense that has failed the Bills. They've given up whatever it was, 30 point something points per game in the 7 elimination games in this playoff run. So it's been the defense at the end. Now, this last game, clearly, Josh Allen turning the ball over 4 times. You can blame him for that one. But so what I'm saying is Brady's offense has definitely been one of the NFL's best. As I said earlier, though, we watch the games. We watch every single play. And there were times when you just wished there was more from Brady's offense. And it was more of Josh Allen just being a superstar is why this offense was producing, and James Cook was producing the way it was. Is Brady really a great schemer and play caller? He's got a superstar, maybe the best player in football as his quarterback. That certainly helps him. That's why I was hoping we were going to get a different voice in there to see what else they could do with Josh Allen. And the biggest thing we've pointed to with Brady is that this is a place where wide receivers have gone to die. This is a league, Adam, where you have to have great, not only, very good receivers, but you need a couple great ones to be truly the best you can be on offense in a passing league. I know the Bills love to run the ball, but you got to pass it in the NFL. And we just saw all these balls that were getting thrown 2 yards down the field, or even behind the line of scrimmage. That's just not a passing game that I wanted to see again. So it's going to be on Beane. It's going to be on Beane to turn this roster over and bring in some players who could maybe do more in Joe Brady's offense. Again, this is all it's a work in progress. And I'm not going to jump to the conclusion that the Bills blew it here, but we're going to need to see a whole lot more from Joe Brady and from Brandon Beane in this roster construction moving forward.
Well, first thing, what he does on the defensive side, obviously, right? But also what he's going to do at offensive coordinator now. And as we record this, it's just becoming official, as I understand it here, and I'm trying to monitor X at the same time I'm talking to you and everybody else here. But Brian Daboll, who the thought was he might be the head coach, former offensive coordinator in Buffalo. Vic Carucci had speculated that it was going to be Brady as head coach and Daboll back as OC, given the history with Josh. He apparently now is headed for Tennessee. So, some of the other candidates, maybe a Davis Webb, could possibly come in as offensive coordinator. I'm not sure how that plays out, but that is just going to be a critical hire as far as the dynamic surrounding Josh, right? And then there's the fact that he was involved in this as well. I know they want him comfortable, but I feel like a measure of uncomfortability for Josh might actually raise the bar a little bit. And I think that's what you were alluding to earlier, right? When a fresh perspective or a fresh take or get more out of him or do something different with Josh or whatever. And I certainly don't get the sense by this move that's it could be underway. I just don't feel that momentum right now.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I would have liked about Daboll. Yes, there's a relationship, and Josh clearly likes Daboll, respects him, but Daboll would have coached him hard. Daboll coached him hard when he was here, and this wasn't going to be his golfing buddy. This was going to be his head coach, was going to push Allen to the very limit. Is Joe Brady going to be able to do that? Has he done that in the 2.5 years he's been the coordinator? I don't know. But I know Daboll would have coached him hard. We'll see on Brady. Davis Webb, when people were talking about him as possibly the head coach. Was he going to be able to push Josh Allen and coach him hard? They're really good friends. That's why I always had a problem with that dynamic. Now, bringing in Webb as the coordinator, again, we'll see who calls. I think Brady will call plays, but hey, Sean McVay has a coordinator too, technically, in Los Angeles. So the coordinator is still an important role. And Davis Webb, That would be a promotion from Denver, so they could technically offer him that job. We'll see. I think that's also going to be an important hire. But I think ultimately, Adam, the big hire he's going to make is defensive coordinator, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the one. They have got to go in a different direction with this defense. I mean, it's been over and over and over. They've had good seasons. They've generally gotten the job done. They've had good rankings and all the numbers you look at. But when push came to shove in the playoffs, the defense usually failed them. And I just think they need a fresh perspective. I think the roster is going to have to turn over. You're going to have to make some difficult decisions on some players who I think it's just time to move on from. And that's why I don't want to see Bobby Babich back in this role. I want to see a new defensive coordinator with a new thought, a new system, and let's bring some players in that are going to fit what he wants to do and change things up. That's where you could clear the proverbial playoff wall by changing the defense and doing things on that side. The offense with Brady, I think a lot of that's going to stay the same. You're going to change some personnel, but Brady is who he is. He has his system already in place here. It's the defensive side that's going to be the great, interesting move that he has to make now.
Yeah, the point that you're making, and I think the type of, I don't know, it's a transition of sorts. It's obviously a transition that the Bills are in. I think back to what happened with the Chiefs, right? Where they were this all-world scoring offense with Mahomes and everything else, and they knew, they had the foresight, they knew that to keep their window open and to continue with that, the push for the dynasty and everything else, that they were going to have to fortify their defense. And as part of the Tyreek Hill trade, that's exactly what they were able to do, and the results spoke for themselves. I feel like, again, it's Bills haven't won anything at this point, with the exception of division titles, but I feel like they're in that point, that fork in the road that franchises reach, where you have pieces on offense, right? You need to add more, but the defenses, they need to switch the emphasis, become more reliant defensively, right? Yeah. And back that up with acquisition and changes and those types of things. I mean, I feel like that's where they're at. And something I was going to ask a little bit later on, but I think with all that's gone down and the emotions and the opinions and the takes with the firing of Sean McDermott, if you're going to do that and then you go this way, to me, it just comes up short. And the Patriots' ascension, maybe it's unfair to make this comparison, but you look what they've done in 2 years with Drake May and 1 year with Mike Vrabel, right? Yeah. By changing things up, completely fresh perspective in the development of a young player. I mean, what the Bills have accomplished in so many ways pales in comparison. So I'm not going to take 5 division titles and just set that aside, but ascension to the Super Bowl in year 2 as a comparison point, that's what's potentially at stake when you make a decision like this. That's the potential impact, especially when you have a future Hall of Fame MVP caliber player to build around in Josh Allen. And I don't know, I don't feel like this necessarily accomplishes that. Again, too many unknowns to make that statement in full at this point. I feel like that's where I'm at, and looking at a lot of the comments here, I'm feeling like a lot of the fan base is there with that at this point as well.
Yeah. I mean, look, this division is the Patriots division again. I mean, I don't think anybody can deny that. They've turned it over, as you said. They're already in the Super Bowl, something the Bills couldn't do, which is just maddening. And you know my hatred for the Patriots and all things Boston. So it's really deplorable for me to see this happen. But they've also got among the most cap space available going into free agency. So they're only going to get better. They're only going to get better in New England. So this division has once again flipped, and it's back in their hands. And the Bills are going to have to go try to steal it back from them. And right now, the way this team was constructed this season, I don't think that if they moved forward with everything still in place, I don't think they were going to be able to do it. I know that the Patriots took advantage of an easy schedule. Understood. But that's still a good team that's going to be getting better in the years to come here. And the Bills are now chasing them. So you make this move, you better change some things because it hasn't been good enough to this point. They've got to change some things on this coaching staff and in this roster. And we'll see if Brady ends up being the right guy to do it. You know, I mean, here's another point, Adam, too, that I'm a little bit concerned about. You know, Brady gets a lot of credit as the offensive coordinator for how well this offense did. Well, I hate to tell you folks, Aaron Kromer probably deserves almost as much credit as Brady, not only because he's a great offensive line coach who got that unit to be a top 5 group really for the last 3 years running now, and he was the run game coordinator. So Brady is calling the plays, but it was Cromer that was designing the run schemes that Brady used, and now he's gone. So who's going to fill that role? We don't know. We know Brady. He was the passing game coordinator at LSU when he had Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Joe Burrow. Yeah, it looked all. That's why he got a job in the NFL, because of what happened there, right? Well, he's been a pretty good pass game coordinator given the limitations they've had at wide receiver, but can he design an entire offense without someone like Aaron Cromer? That's going to be a huge thing to look for as they go. That's why I think offensive coordinator is going to be an important position, because that might be the role that the new offensive coordinator plays, is take this running game. And, if you can do it better than Aaron Cromer, that would be great, but at least get us to that point where we're still a great running team.
No, that's why offensive coordinator is so key. And I agree with every point you made about the defense, and just sort of made that myself, I think. But at the same time, there's the predictability factor, right? I mean, you agree with the fact that the Bills had become predictable in a lot of ways from an offensive standpoint. And until we see who is hired as coordinator, what the relationship is with Brady, what the relationship is with Josh, what they do at offensive line in terms of who's going to lead that group, we're not going to know. But if I'm Mike Vrabel sitting there in my office getting ready for the Super Bowl, right? And as this news comes down, I don't feel like the needle is moving very far.
I don't think the Patriots are shaking in their shoes right now, seeing what the Bills just did today. Again, it's very early. We shouldn't be totally shitting on the move here. Brady has proven to be a good coach for the Bills, but I think we've both made the point here that we wish that they would have moved on in a different direction, if no other reason, to make it fresher than what it's been. You want to look at some of these quotes?
Yeah, let's go. I think the time we have left here.
We've got a great bunch of people here. We thank you for coming in and joining us today on this spur of the moment Tuesday. By the way, I was at the dentist and driving home when I knew going to the dentist today was going to push the ball forward, because I knew I'd be stuck in my car driving home when it happened. So I got back 5 minutes after the news broke, so it was okay.
How many times through the years, you and I on the beat, how many times through the years, well, we can tell the story at the end. Let's get to some of the comments.
All right.
But there's some classic stuff where you're on the way, it's a day off or whatever, and this isn't a complaint, it's the nature of the beast, and all of a sudden, a text from a source or a report drops and everything changes.
I think half the Bills breaking news has happened when I'm on the thruway driving to Buffalo. It just always seems to work out that way.
All right, so Operation Elevation 93, same old Bills. We've addressed that. Yep. CPT Eureka, what an absolute uninspiring hire. I guess the bubble screens and first down runs are here to stay. Anything you want to?
That's a point. That's a point that I called it uninspiring, and that's what I want to see. This offense, the passing game needs to be better. They need to be more dynamic down the field, and I'm just sick and tired. I'm watching the Seahawks game the other day.
Oh yeah,
their screen game, Adam. Why can't the Bills have a screen game like that? The traditional screen where you throw it to the back, the offensive lineman, who Buffalo has always had an athletic offensive lineman. Why Brady can't make that work, and he has to keep relying on the sideways pass to Khalil Shakir. Yeah, I don't want to see these bubble screens with Khalil Shakir. I'm tired of that. That's why I wanted something fresh, but he makes a great point here. It seems like, those are probably still going to be part of the package here in Buffalo.
Not to mention the downfield throws from Darnold.
Yeah.
In the Seattle game.
Their
elements
offense,
missing.
I mean, maybe they didn't want to wait for 2 weeks for Kubiak. I mean, I guess that's what we're looking at here, and I understand that point. You got to wait 2 weeks. A lot of good assistant coaches go off the board too, because you can't build your staff if you're waiting for so long. So I understand that. I also think that Kubiak might be one of these guys, Adam, who might just stay in Seattle for a year. Ben Johnson did that, if you remember. He was the hot guy with Detroit. He decided to go back for a year and then waited for a better opportunity. Now, Kubiak, I mean, this is a pretty good opportunity in Buffalo, but maybe the Bills got wind through his agent that if by waiting 2 weeks to talk to him and maybe hire him, he might have felt like, how am I going to build a staff? And he might have, through his agent, told the Bills, look, I'm probably not going to be the guy for you. That might be what spurred this decision today. I don't know. But man, I liked what Kubiak did there. I would have loved if they had lost their game and to see if he could have been available for an interview and what might have happened here. But thanks to the Rams not being able to punch it in the red zone there at the end, we'll never get to know.
Isaac Bruning 716, they just wanted a yes man to Beane to run it back because they have all this, quote, talent. Given how this all went down, the McDermott firing, the Beane promotion, Terry Pegula's statements at that controversial end-of-season news conference with Beane after it all happened, I mean, that's a dynamic that they're going to have to – actions and results will only dictate to what extent they were able to move beyond that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm hoping he's not going to be a yes man. I hope he's going to go in there with, now that he has power as a head coach, to be able to do things his way and maybe have Beane support him as opposed to guide him. We'll see. Again, I trust Brandon Beane. A lot of people hate Brandon Beane right now. I don't. I think he's done a tremendous job with this team. He's had a couple rough years, no doubt. He needs to be better in the evaluation, both in free agency and the draft. But he's part of the reason why the Bills have gone to the playoffs 8 years out of 9. So I'm not ready to quit on Brandon Beane, and we'll see how this works. I hope it ends up working great, and we'll see. It's too early to tell.
Dutch Flats, this was a very Billsy thing to do, safe, uninspired, conventional, and cheap.
I don't know if it's going to be cheap. I mean, he's going to get paid, he's going to get paid. So I don't know.
So is McDermott.
We'll see.
I mean, making this decision is an expensive decision to make, obviously.
Oh, yeah. You're going to have to eat some money on assistant coaches if he doesn't bring some of these guys back. He's got to pay Sean 2 more years, and I think about $8 million a year. So it's not going to be cheap. That's the wrong word to use here.
We just swapped seats on a doomed airplane. That's
well, let's hope not.
Let's hope not. I mean, I see where that's coming from, but I think we both agree that the results will dictate that. You just have to see how everything comes together and what it translates to on the field moving forward. Rod Burks, TMJ4, are looking for a new voice with new ideas. How much influence do you think Josh Allen has in this? I mean, I think he was in the room. They had him there.
In the room. I told you though, he didn't pick Joe Brady. He had an opinion, and they used his opinion in the final evaluation. But nobody's going to tell me that Josh Allen picked Joe Brady. I'm sure he had an opinion. That's as far as I'll take it. I'm not in the room. I don't know, but I would hope that it was Brandon Beane making the final call, because I really didn't want Pegula to make the final call. I hope it was Brandon Beane making the final call.
Yeah, I just think there's a comfort factor there that I don't know that I'm comfortable with. I don't mind him being in the room. I think he's earned that. It's just, if this is the way they're going to go, then, like you said, you had made the point earlier. I felt like they needed someone to push him to maybe even in a higher level or in a complementary and different direction. Gabriel Lamb 99, is Milano one to move on from? I mean, his play sort of came around, but I think the time has come on him, don't you?
There's a reason they cut his contract short by a year last offseason. I think the plan all along was to move on. So yeah, I think it's time. There's a few other guys in that defense that may have seen their end too. So we'll get to that later, though, I'm sure.
All right, Dutch Flats, the entire staff besides McD to be retained with a question. I don't feel that's going to be the case.
I don't think the entire staff will be retained. They've already lost Cromer and Chris Tabor, the special teams coach. I don't think he'll retain the entire staff. It'll be interesting to see what he does with Austin Gund, who was the assistant offensive line coach. Maybe you promote him because of the continuity. He learned as much under Cromer as the offensive lineman did, so maybe he's ready for that job. That's a big one. Offensive line is going to be a big hire for them, so we'll see where they go there.
Leave my freedom be. What is the impact on the locker room if they believe this team is going nowhere? I don't feel like there's a change. McDermott established the culture, right?
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of emotion that comes with a decision like this, and a lot of the players aren't happy about it. I don't know to what extent, though. This is the National Football League. And by the time they get into OTAs, Brady's able to put his imprint on this. I think there's a lot of guys in there that like Joe Brady as well. But, you know, what that translates to as head coach, I mean, I think there's a lot here that will go on. And as they distance themselves from the emotions of this, right? This is kind of like life. And you get into whatever's next. I don't know that the Bills are going to show up at St. John Fisher as a team that feels like they're going nowhere.
No, there's no way. And I think in terms of culture, Adam, by hiring or promoting Brady, you probably have a little bit better chance of continuing the culture and building on the culture that McDermott put in place. Brady was part of it for 4 years. A lot of the players on this team are probably very happy that Joe Brady is the coach. So I think in terms of culture, this would might have been the best move they could have made. You bring somebody else inside, he's going to change everything, including the culture. So I think a lot of these guys are probably happy that some of that's going to be moving forward here with Joe Brady.
All right. Andy Larson, 8538. Joke hire, so everything that went wrong was on McDermott and everyone else got a raise. You know, well, I mean, that sentiment is going to be there until results dictate otherwise. Until results dictate that they were right. I mean, there's nothing that we can say about it. We can't even project. We don't know. No one knows. But there's a lot on the line in making this move and then going in this direction to keep it in-house.
Yeah.
So I certainly understand that perception and the frustration on a day like this. I'm
not going to call it a joke hire. It's not a joke hire. Yeah. Uninspiring is the word that I used, but I don't think it's a joke hire. I think the guy's a good coach. Now he's got to prove it. There's going to be an enormous amount of pressure, not only on Brady, but on Josh Allen. Because if Josh Allen, as we said, was in the room and had an opinion about this, well, he's casting his lot with Joe Brady. And now they're on the hook, man. These are the chosen guys to get over that proverbial wall. There's going to be some pressure on Josh Allen now this year to get it done under Joe Brady.
All right, from Dutch Flats, none of the candidates with any chops wanted this job after that disastrous press conference. I don't believe that's the case.
Total bullshit. I'm sorry. There's 32 head coaching jobs. They're all worth probably $8 to $10 million a year. I think a lot of guys wanted this job.
Look at what Udinsky did. He put himself in position. He got himself a pay raise in Jacksonville to go back there as offensive coordinator, right? But wanted the Buffalo job and left himself the option, if they wanted to go in that direction, to go ahead and take it. I mean, he's one. I think a lot of folks would want this job. It was one of the most attractive out there, given the fact that Josh Allen is a quarterback, new stadium, instant contention.
There was 10 jobs available, Adam. It was this in Baltimore with the plum jobs. Yeah, nobody's going to convince me differently of that. It would be Raiders, Cardinals, Falcons, Dolphins. I mean, really, over the Bills with Josh Allen and a playoff team? Don't give me that. Everybody wanted this job.
Michael Lettuce, 2103, lousy move. Okay. Allen's the reason. This is from Steve O'Shea, 1819. Allen is the reason the offense had been at the top of the league the last 3 years.
Well, it's true.
That's true.
A lot of coordinators would have done the same with Josh Allen. That's absolutely true. It is. I mean, there's
a lot of head coaches. I mean, McDermott's level of success is what it is, not entirely, but in large part because of Josh Allen. I mean, you look at Belichick in New England. I mean, the examples, Allen is the piece that every franchise covets and needs, and not enough of them are able to find or get right. That's what makes this job as attractive, and that's what they finally were able to land on when they traded up to draft him 7th overall in 2018. He's the piece. He's going to make a lot of coaches look a hell of a lot better, Sal.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why this job was a plum job. They interviewed 9 guys, and believe me, all 9 of those guys wanted this job badly.
All right, the team needs to get rid of people that turn the ball over. And yes, I'm talking about 2 players.
Well, 2, Josh Allen and James Cook.
Yeah, I don't think you want to get rid of either of those guys.
No, I don't think you're getting rid of those guys.
All right. From JC Zo23, organization with a GM and owner. They just have a good QB. Same old, you know what? With
shit.
Well, that's right. We can say that.
Why don't you swear? Why am I the swearer? Why can't you swear?
Because I have this. Guy? You know what? Because I have this filter that
I have no filter.
Kind of implanted.
So it is same old shit. He's right.
You know what I mean? With the amount of times you ad lib on TV, and of course you can't. In this forum, you can. Same old shit. See, there I just said it, Sal. Does that
There
make
you
you
go.
feel better?
There you go. There you go.
With what'll be the same garbage roster. Is this not you?
No, it's not a garbage
It's
roster.
the same. No, it's not. It's certainly. And they will not win a thing. Yes, they will. Hopefully this gets Beane fired. He's the problem. Look.
No, none of that made any sense to me. I'm sorry. Every point you made was wrong there. Call it uninspiring if you want, but every point you made was wrong. They're not a garbage roster. I will say, okay, it's a little bit of the same old shit because they just promoted from within, but even that, you're off base. Sorry.
No, I mean, I would say this, though, that his neck is kind of extended on this one, right?
Well, sure.
I mean, if this doesn't work, then
he survived.
What?
He survived the purge. McDermott didn't, and he's the guy in charge of hiring the next coach. So he is absolutely in the firing line right now. There's no doubt about that. Beane's leash probably got a little bit shorter in this last few weeks because he's on the hook.
All right, a couple of more here before we wrap it up. The choice is an affirmation of Brandon Beane's supremacy within the organization. Partly,
Pegula put him in charge of it, right?
Yep. So that's
Pegula put him in charge of it.
And I think Josh Allen has influence on it as well. There's no way he can't with a move like this.
You're right.
He was going to have influence no matter what. And finally, Jim Ludwizak, 9930, should have gone with Udinsky, I think he means. Bright mind from O'Connell and Liam Cohen staffs. I mean, there's a lot. Look, I mean, he would put himself in position to get it. His stock was rising, right?
Yeah.
With his attention to detail, the amount of time he put in, all of those things. I mean, but young, right? Well, regardless, we're talking about a first-time head coach here.
Yeah.
With Brady.
That was the worry, Adam, with Udinsky. I put a whole dossier together on some of these key guys because I had to be ready in case they hired somebody different. And I learned a lot about him. And he is a very, very interesting candidate down the road. I think he needs a little bit more experience. He worked with Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. That's a great place to start. And he obviously had a great year with the Jaguars. But it would have been hard for me to bring in a head coach who's the same age as the quarterback. And you know, that would have been a reach to me. Now I get it. The Rams did that with Sean McVay when he was 31 years old, and look what happened. So that's a hell of a roll of a dice. I just don't know that it was going to be the right move for this team. Maybe I'll be proven to be wrong, but that's where I stand on Udinsky. It would have been very interesting, but that would have come with a lot of risk for a team that is in this position the Bills are right now as a playoff team.
All right. So maybe that's the takeaway from this. Maybe that's the way you look at it. That by no means was this thing broken. It wasn't. It just needed a boost, right? Now, whether or not Joe Brady's the guy to do that remains to be seen. But at the same time, I mean, he's been far more a part of the solution than the problem. Joe Brady, with the impact he's had on that offense, with the production. And we can talk about roster construction and all of those things. And certainly Brady is not without criticism. And we've made those points with regard to the schemes and what this offense has been about. But look, the Bills were a play away from being in the AFC Championship game. And with a blizzard condition in Foxborough, regardless of the conditions, but, blizzard in Foxborough with Allen, right? And Cook, I would have liked to have seen that. But even in good conditions, I felt like there was a good chance if they don't go over there and get behind. Fortunately, they were able to rally and win that game during the regular season. But I felt like they were right there. And certainly if they don't turn the ball over as they did against the Broncos, they're in the AFC Championship game. And maybe we're having a different conversation at this point. It was that close. And as I say this to wrap this up, I feel like we're going to hear this come out of management's mouth when they have the news conference, and justify the promotion of Joe Brady to head coach. Because I think that's part of the thinking, that they've been knocking on the door. It's just they have to be able to get through it and take a part of what was working, elevate it, and then see what you can add in to incorporate some change and to push things forward. We'll see if that's going to be the case. So that's good. Any final thoughts that you want to share before we wrap this up?
Well, I think we opened a vein today and got through it pretty good. So
all right. So we'll see. At this point, I don't see a news conference
Well, they're still in Florida, so it might not be for a couple of days. Maybe tomorrow, but I'm guessing probably Thursday or Friday.
Regardless, that's probably when we'll come back. Or if you start hearing names getting hired, because I know that based on reports, as this was announced, Brady was already working on assembling a staff today and talking to people. So as some of the key hires take place, we'll certainly be available here. Believe in Bills. Want to hear from you as always. Great turnout today. Excellent turnout. We thank you for joining us live here on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed, we're 2 years into this now, Sal, and I would love for you to join us here. Subscribe. Believe in Bills, presented by FanDuel. Joe Brady, the next head coach of the Buffalo Bills, and much more still to come. So for Sal Maiorana of the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, I'm Adam Benigni of WGRZ-TV. Sports Talk Live Buffalo. Thanks for being with us here. Believe in Bills, presented by FanDuel.